Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Cloud Bootcamp 2020. So far in the series, we have completed a few different segments. In the last class, we completed the JAMstack, the intro to the JAMstack, and we built a few different applications. And in this session, we will now be continuing with the JAMstack, but we'll be focusing on the e-commerce application side of it now. Ziasa, would you like to start?
Yes. Now what we are going to do is basically, Adil, please open the repository where all the links are.
Sure. I'm going to share my screen here. Okay. Can you see?
Yes. And please go down a little bit. We are going to go article by article.
Okay.
So that the students can also follow us.
Yes. Do you want to start with the first one here? With what is
even before
this
we start with the what is e-commerce, we will start with that. But before we even do that, what I was thinking about was why, after completing full stack development, we could have gone and we will go serverless in depth. Okay. Why we jump to e-commerce? The thing is that after COVID-19, the e-commerce bandwagon has been taking a lot of luggage. It is gaining speed. It is becoming bigger and bigger. Yeah. And in the last 6 to 8 months, the e-commerce application development has increased a lot.
Yes.
So therefore, it is very important that all our students understand it. And I have a suspicion that we are entering in a new age of blockchain, a new age of digital payments, a new age of e-commerce.
Yeah.
And I want to be sitting on that train when it leaves station.
So Bitcoin has crossed 13,000 now.
Yeah. And all my students also, I want them and developers to basically learn a lot. Okay, let's start with, there is a confusion in what is e-commerce. For most people, e-commerce is Amazon. And if you open the first thing, welcome, Daniyal.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Okay. Now, what we are going to do is, Adil, why don't you start off by telling us what you think of e-commerce? What is e-commerce?
So e-commerce, in my mind, is whenever you use the internet to have a transaction of some sort in which two parties are exchanging either a product or a service for some financial currency.
And
that.
Yes.
So that's a short definition. But if you want me to go into like all of the different.
Yes. I want you to go into the long one.
Okay. So So if you come down, we can use this article as a reference here. They have a few different models of e-commerce. So when you were mentioning, Zasaf, that most people think of Amazon, they think of the business to consumer model, in which Amazon has transformed into this. Before, I think it used to be more of a consumer to consumer, but now that they've re-established themselves, they have their own warehouses, and they're more of a supplier. They themselves are the business, and their users are now the consumer. So in that case, where the business Amazon is selling their products or other people's products on their platform as the retailer itself. The other version of e-commerce would be the business to business, in which a good example, I guess, would be like Alibaba, where the Alibaba platform is used by businesses who are doing the manufacturing, and they sell in bulk in wholesale lots to other businesses who are usually retailers in maybe different countries. So this is how the China outsourcing model is working. So you could go on Alibaba as a business and buy from another business who's manufacturing some product that you need, and then you can go ahead further and then become a B2C and sell it to the consumer directly. The other option here is the consumer to consumer model, which would be an example of this could be something like maybe OLX or eBay here, in which a consumer has used a product, like maybe a car, and after using that product, they want to sell that product to another consumer. So maybe I want to sell my car, and it could be placed on a platform that is a consumer to consumer, where I could directly connect to another customer or consumer who would be using that product directly. And then the fourth model here is consumer to business, in which case it's more of where you could think of it. Maybe I would, if I have a Honda, I would be selling it back to Honda. Or Apple has their buyback program. So when you have used an iPhone, maybe you have iPhone 11 Pro, like Daniyal has, and he wants to switch to iPhone 12, he can sell it back to Apple, in which case he's the consumer and Apple is the business, and he could have his money back and then maybe repurpose it to the new iPhone 12. So these are a few different e-commerce models, with some examples. And then in terms of the relationship and how the actual seller is working, one is the retail industry, where so if you consider this, most e-commerce stores are retailers, where they're getting a product from some third party, and then they're reselling it. So they're not actually making that product. So most of the grocery stores or most of the online platforms where we're purchasing things, where multiple different products are existing on the same platform, that's usually retail, unless it's one big manufacturer that's building all of these and selling it on their own platform, which is not really likely. Then you have the wholesale model, where there's a manufacturer, most likely, who is selling the product in bulk. So there's this. Then there's the drop shipping model, in which there's like a middleman. So there's a broker involved between connecting the buyer and the seller, and they're not really directly involved. They're mostly getting the order placed and letting the retailer or wholesaler know of the actual consumer, and then they ship the product
directly. Like in Pakistan, all the food supplies.
Yeah.
Like what do you call all the restaurants are using the drop shipping model.
Yeah. Then there's the crowdfunding model. So maybe you have a startup, and you would like to start building your product, but you don't really have all the money you need to actually build it. So in that case, crowdfunding is a way to get customers to give you the money in advance of you actually building it, just by sharing what you would like to build, and then you promise to the customer that once it's built, then they would be among the first to actually get it. So Kickstarter is a good example of this. I think they have that's where you can go and launch the crowdfunding campaigns and raise money to build a product. Next example is a subscription model, which I guess you could go to any online service who's running a subscription base, like maybe Netflix is running a subscription base, where you pay a monthly fee, and then you pay a recurring monthly fee, and every month you're able to access their service until you stop paying or you cancel, and then you lose access to the service. Or maybe like a gym membership is like a subscription. You pay every month, and then if you stop paying, then you lose your membership. Then you have the physical products and versus digital products. So if you look, most of the products we use are physical products. Like if you want to eat something, or if it's like a food product or a hygiene product or cleaning product, many of those are physical products. But then you have digital products as well, such as maybe an ebook, a learning course, some video, maybe a movie. So there's a difference in how those would be delivered to the customer. So a physical product would have to be packaged up and physically mailed to the customer, versus a digital product which could just be downloaded immediately whenever the payment transaction is completed. And then lastly, you have the services model, like many of our students and ourselves doing services work online in exchange for financial compensation, which you have multiple platforms like this, Fiverr and Upwork and TopTal and all of these different platforms giving somebody who wants a service to be done and connecting them with somebody who is available to provide a service, and then mediating the two, and then there's a financial transaction that takes place once the services are delivered. So these are some of the
Yeah, Wes, you have covered it very well. Let's move to the, just to summarize, the two main ones. Actually, everybody is every category is the main one, but
yeah,
mostly people, when they think about e-commerce, they think about B2C,
this one, yeah,
which is basically business. For example, if there is a shoemaking company, they make their website and sell products on it. And but in the recent few months and years, business to business has grown a lot. And in Pakistan and underdeveloped countries, business to business e-commerce is being funded in a huge way, where basically we'll discuss it when we go to the local section. Now let's move to Daniyal. Daniyal, what do you want? Would you like to summarize? What do you think e-commerce is? I think your mic is muted.
Yes. Yes, everything is covered by Adil Bhai. E-commerce, according to me, is the activity of electronically buying or selling of products on online services or over the internet. So, and in depth, Adil Bhai is already covered. So, in local and international payment gateway and payment side, when we will move, then I will much more contribute in it.
Okay. That's a second. If we move to the second article, but before we move to the second article, I would like to add something here. The problem in Pakistan is that the payment gateways, first of all, people don't trust paying digitally, and the second thing is the payment gateways are not there. Therefore, most of the things which are being, for example, if you can order pizza from Pizza Hut directly or indirectly, but the problem is probably it will be cash on delivery, which is very doesn't complete the whole digital experience. So let's move to the second article.
The other problem with that is whenever I order pizza online, if I try to pay with my credit card, they ask me to call the bank to first get them to allow my card to be used for online purchase, and then make the transaction. So it's a hassle as well.
As we move forward, we'll see that their State Bank of Pakistan is moving forward. But the problem is, even those who are viewing our classes from overseas and are not Pakistanis, they have to understand that in developing countries, in America, it's not everybody more or less has a credit card, or at least 75% of your customers have a credit card, and people are not afraid to use it. But in developing countries, the main problem is digital inclusion, and that is why fintechs are going to be very important as we move forward.
So on to the next article here.
Okay. Now, if you go down,
Are you talking about the stats here?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Adil, could you summarize it a little bit? What are the
Sure.
stats?
Yeah, so it seems like number one, if you look at the high from a high level, it's a 4.13 trillion dollar e-commerce sale in 2020 in just the retail e-commerce, right? So this is only the retail; it doesn't include all of the other e-commerce models that we talked about previously. And then if you look at a further breakdown, it's by 2040, there's an expectation that 95% of all purchases would be completed through e-commerce. So over the next 20 years, this is going to be a further transformation of how we buy and sell goods, and it's headed towards that direction. If you look at the way it's grown over the past few years, and especially this year with COVID. So with the fastest e-commerce market, the fastest growing e-commerce market is China. This is an older stat from 2017, but it was a $672 billion market back then, and I'm sure it has at least doubled or tripled maybe by now. The U.S. is the economy with the highest penetration rate in terms of e-commerce. So 80% of everybody who has internet, which is pretty much the entire US, is making online purchases or has at least made one online purchase. And once you make one online purchase, then you kind of get used to it unless you have a bad experience the first time. Most of the time, the biggest reason why somebody would consider making an online purchase, this is a kind of a common sense kind of thing. You can shop 24/7. You don't have to wait for opening hours or anything. You can shop on your own schedule. This one is interesting. So most of the e-commerce traffic comes from organic search results, which this kind of surprised me actually. I figured that most people, maybe it's me, I know exactly what I want to buy, so I go directly to the website. But I guess 43% of e-commerce traffic comes from Google search. So if you're on Google search and you have good rankings, then you have a good chance of making sales. And this one made sense where if you have a slow website, then the customer won't stay because the world is so fast moving now. If your website isn't quick enough, then 75% of the time the customer will just leave and go to a site that's faster.
So, Adil, if I ask you, if you want to build a e-commerce website, two things are extremely important. It has to be fast, and the SEO, search engine optimization, has to be there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to lose it big time, business big time.
Yeah, you're probably likely going to fail.
Yeah. Now, if we go to the second point,
I'll continue here.
Yes, go ahead.
So this is talking more about the B2b sector now. I think, or no. So the sales are scaling up in the B2B sector, and it's even going beyond the B2C, and they're expecting it to pass B2C profits by the end of the year. So if you look at more of the stats, with the Google search, what's happening is, so we already saw 43% of the e-commerce traffic comes from Google search, and then even though the transaction wouldn't happen immediately, maybe somebody had just searched and found your site, and maybe they bookmarked it or have it in mind. Within 5 days, the chances are that 35% of those would be converted within 5 days, which is pretty good. and this is all organic, right? You're not even paying for this directly for paid marketing. Next, 51% of digital buyers are making purchases using their smartphones. So this is a big deal because this means that you need a interface that's smartphone friendly as well. So now we've seen three things, right? SEO, fast, and it has to be good with mobile. Okay, next, the digital buyers are more likely to spend money or spend more money if they get free shipping. So that's why we see a lot of like Amazon Prime and stuff, they give free shipping. And many other websites offer free shipping, which kind of goes towards the psyche of the buyer, I guess, that maybe the product is a little bit costlier, but you don't have to pay for shipping. 93% of online shoppers said the visual appearance of the store is a key factor. This makes sense, right? It's just like if you go to a store and if it's dirty, you're not going to stay there, right? So just like that, if you go to an online store and it doesn't look good, you're not going to stay there. Next point is 80% of shoppers online don't make purchases that have bad return policies. So if you're saying like typically in Pakistan, no exchanges, no returns, that's a bad thing for online because most of the time people are not, because for me, right, if like I'm buying shoes online, this is something tricky. Until I don't see it physically, it's a hard thing to confirm that transaction 100%. But if the return policy is good, like if you don't like it, you can return it maybe. In that case, I'd be more likely to make the purchase. And then 85% of all products purchased through social media platforms come from Facebook, which makes sense. We do a lot of marketing on Facebook. So that covers this section. I think my battery is about to die. Can I run and grab my charger? Yeah.
Let me summarize in the meanwhile. What we have learned so far is that if you want an e-commerce website, first of all, it has to look good. You have to optimize it for the search engine. Number two, it has to be fast. Otherwise, if it is delayed, that is why we are going to use JAMstack, because JAMstack is very fast. If it is delayed, then it will create a lot of problems. For example, if the website is very slow, people just abandon your shopping cart and go to another website. And social media marketing, Facebook is a major player, and Google is, of course, most of the things we already knew. But the good thing about it is that we have summarized it, and the e-commerce graph is going up. And let's move to the next article.
Sure.
Could you, Adil, please put the above URL on the screen so that everybody knows where we are looking?
This one? Sure. There we go. So it's github.com/paniccloud modern global apps /JAMstack e-commerce.
Yes. Now, what we have learned so far is, now let's move to the next article.
This one.
And today, we are not going to do any coding, but from next week, we are going to start coding and doing projects in e-commerce.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
Now let's move to the next article.
Can you see my screen? Is it stuck?
Yeah. Let me see.
Yes, we can see. Yes,
we can see.
Okay. Yeah. So this article is talking about what you need to do, like before and during and after building an e-commerce website. So it starts off with why you should sell online, even just considering what should make you transition from being like a on-premises shop experience to switching to the online experience. So one by one, it gives a few different points. Starting with number one, people spend money online. So usually, wherever people are spending money, that's where the sellers will go. So if people are spending money online, that's the first reason to start thinking about it, that there is a market. So in people in the United States in 2019, they've spent $602 billion online, um, and that was before COVID. And then after COVID, the e-commerce sales grew by 49%. So that should hit around $1 trillion for 2020 or something like this, if that trend continues. So anybody who is selling and they're selling online, they're missing out on the $1 trillion online sales. Right. Next, yeah.
Adil, I would like to add something.
Sure.
People are suggesting the big companies are using omni-channel. By omni-channel, it means that you use any channel where the customers are. You don't force the customers to. You have a retail outlet. You have an online presence. You might even be selling on eBay.
Right.
The thing is,
it's like surface area. It's like surface area, right? The more surface area you have, the more chance you'll have of selling.
Oh, yes. And yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So number one is people are spending money online, so might as well make the most of it. Number two, having an e-commerce website, an online presence would cost less than a store. So you don't have to pay for the rent. You don't have to pay for staff who are maintaining the store. You don't have to pay the licensing or the permits needed to run a commercial store like this. You don't have to worry about utility bills. The electric bills are pretty extensive. Furniture and decorations you don't have to worry about because nobody's really coming physically to your online store. You don't have to worry about maintenance or cleaning or any of these expenses that go with the physical location. You don't have to worry about with the e-commerce website. You still have to maintain your inventory, or maybe you have a small warehouse, but that goes either way. Even if you have a store, you need that anyway. So having the store online cuts out a lot of these costs that go with having a front end shop for the customer. The third thing here is online shopping is more convenient for everybody. It's more convenient for the customer. It's more convenient for the seller. All around, it's a better deal because customer can buy 24/7. They don't have to leave their home and go to the mall or wherever your shop is and then find you and get the product. Maybe you don't even have the product in stock when they arrive. So instead of going through all of that trouble, they can simply go to the website or the app and see if you have the product they're looking for and make the transaction. Online presence gets your products found in search. This is important because if you're selling something, you want to be able to have people look it up. So oftentimes people will not know that you exist until they try and search for you. And if you're not in the search results, they'll never find you. So if you're online, then it makes sense to so customers can actually Google search and find your product.
Otherwise, the point here is that even if they are not buying online,
exactly.
They will find you online.
Yeah, maybe they'll find you online and then decide to see your store or something. That's true. Yeah. Otherwise, if you're not on the SEO, then they won't even find you online.
Mm-hmm. There is another figure which I wanted to point out in this graph. If you go back,
yeah, sure.
85% is Google search, 72% is Amazon search, and retail website is 36%.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, most of the people either go to Google to find out, and from there they will come to your website,
Mm-hmm.
or they will go to Facebook and somebody recommends something, and then they will come to your website, retail website.
Right. Yeah. Maybe with Facebook, they'll have like their social circle recommending something, maybe, something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But mostly it's Google, and then Amazon is there as well.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they see the product on Amazon and then switch over and buy it directly or something. I don't know.
Recently, Facebook is now also making their shop APIs much more accessible, and they are marketing it in the last few months.
Mm.
Mm.
Right. Next point here was the growth in mobile. So many people are over the past. This is like a 5-year chart, but I would say over the past 15 years, right, since the smartphones came out, people have been able to access data online with their phone, and as the smartphone market continues to grow, so does the online and e-commerce markets. It's growing. I guess it's growing proportionally. So the more people have smartphones, the more they're able to buy using their smartphone. So again, this goes to being able to cater to somebody who's looking for your product and being able to deal with them on a mobile-friendly interface. Next, this article goes into what you need to do before you start actually building the store. So it says what you need. So you're gonna need some branding, right? So you need a domain name. This goes into hosting. I don't know if you do need hosting. Whether it's we'll go in more detail in we've been doing JAMstack and serverless and all this, so that kind of will tie in here. You need a payment processor, somebody who is a trusted party to validate and execute the transactions using the credit card or the bank transfer, whatever payment method the customer is using. Next is a platform or a tool that would be used to build the store. So there's many different platforms. We'll go into detail in a minute here. Which can be used to build the store, even if you're not like a technical developer. There's few tools that could be used. And then you need the initial capital, of course, to get the products, or what are you going to sell on the store. So you need to have some capital there. And then the last thing they're saying is you need some sort of packaging. Ideally, it's branded packaging that fits in with your domain or whatever your e-commerce store is. And then how are you going to ship the products once you make transactions? So those are some things to think about when starting to build the e-commerce store. Next, once you have figured out all of these things, you also have to do some market research and figure out exactly which product you're going to be selling. So for this, the recommended thing is to look for what people are looking for. So trending products. This is a good way of identifying what the customer is looking for. And there's a few different options here. You can use Google Trends or Trend Hunter or Instagram influencers to see what kind of products are trending in the market online. And you could think about either having those products or products that go along with them, maybe something that makes sense that you could sell that would fit in with those trends. So number one is look for the trends. Number two is have something that you actually care about. So if you're not into cars, maybe you shouldn't be selling cars online. Next, explore what's currently selling. So also one was the trending, and the other thing they're saying is what's current. So look at the different products maybe on Amazon, see what the best sellers are here, and you can get an idea of what kind of things people are buying online with Amazon, and maybe you can try and get a piece of that market. Once you've done the market research, selected the products you'll want to be selling on your online store, the next thing is starting to build the actual product. So you have to go and choose the e-commerce platform, which platform you'll be going with, or if you'll be building your own site from scratch, which could be more expensive, but sometimes that's the better option. So there's a few different options to search to look at. WordPress, Magento. There's some website builders like Shopify, and there's a few others. Do you wanna
No,
go?
we are Adil, we are not going to go into the right detail.
Yeah, these are. So
because
yeah.
we have already selected JAMstack for this thing.
Yeah.
So therefore, we are going to directly to JAMstack.
Yeah, just for informational purposes, just so you know, these are out there.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so next, once you've decided on it, we've decided on JAMstack, right? So you have to choose what elements would be inside of your, what functionality would be there. So number one is the organization, so the user experience. When a customer shows up to the e-commerce site, what will they be seeing? If we look at the few different online stores, if you go to Amazon, they have a way of classifying their products. So they have the categories, and you can search based on what you're searching for. So depending on what product you're selling, that's how you would arrange or organize your website. So if you're selling like Amazon, a whole variety of different things, you'll have a more general organizational structure, and you'll have like that drop down on Amazon where you have all the different categories and subcategories. Maybe if you're more in a niche sales market, then I like the car example. So if you're selling cars, then you'll have like the type of the make and model. Maybe that's the way you organize it, or whatever, based on whatever product you're selling. So first, how do you organize it? You need a search feature. So somebody who's coming to look at a product can actually search through your catalog and find the product they're looking for. So all the e-commerce has a search, right? Reviews are very important online. So whatever you're trying to buy, most of the time, if there's no reviews on a product, from my own experience, I never buy it unless I'm being adventurous. I never buy something like that who doesn't have a review. And I think that most people would agree with that. You'll need a shopping cart so that you can have the user add what they're buying into the shopping cart feature. So then when they check out, it's all there, added in the digital shopping cart. The wish list functionality is there, where you can have somebody save the products that they would like to buy later. Maybe somebody can gift it to them. It's just a way of increasing your sales later on. So these are some of the features that should be there. Doesn't mean you need all of them, but most likely you do. And then you get to the actual building of the online store. I think I'm going to skip this because this goes into some of the...
Now, let me summarize. Adil has done it very well. On why we have selected JAMstack. The first one is the speed. If we go with WordPress, we will suffer with the load times. The second one is the SEO part. The JAMstack is very good at search engine optimization. So those are and it is also because we are targeting not small mom and pop shops. We are targeting most of our developers work for medium to large companies. Very small companies, they do not hire developers to build they just go to Shopify and build the entire application in Shopify, their website on Shopify, which is a website generator and e-commerce API providers. So therefore, the best thing is that JAMstack is super fast, and it is very good with SEO, and The second thing is compatibility. Because JAMstack, we use Gatsby for in JAMstack. It is based on React, and the same technology which we use to build applications, we will also use to build with minor changes to build websites, e-commerce websites. So therefore, these are the reasons. Let's move over to the next article. I think there was something left in that article, Adil.
In this one, let me check. Marketing, marketing.
This is very important. Marketing. We developers always overlook this part of it.
Yeah, once you have it built, who's gonna come on your site, right? So there's a few different ways of marketing. Once the site is live, I think we missed one more thing here. This one, we missed two things. With testing as well. So before launching the store, it has to be fully tested. Make sure everything is okay, and then once you've launched it, then you got to get customers on your website or your app. So there's a few different ways of marketing. One is the content marketing, in which you create content, and that content is then shared through various different platforms, and that's how you get customer engagement and get somebody to then eventually end up on your website and then make a transaction happen. So a few examples. Number one, maybe you have a blog, and then on that blog you're sharing information to people who are interested in that area or in that industry, and then eventually you lead the customer towards making a purchase with your store. Maybe you have a guide or an ebook which is published on your website, and that's how you can get people to come in and give you their information, such as their email, to get the guides or the ebooks. Maybe you're just giving the ebook away for free, and that's just how you're building your email list, so you can then start emailing those customers. Video content is a good way now. I've noticed most people don't really like to read as much as videos. So a video is a good way to get the message across. People are getting more and more lazy and prefer the video than the audio and eventually the visual content. I've noticed the visual content is less effective than video. So I guess there's different modes of effectiveness, but these are some of the ways you can create content to get customers to engage with your product and then eventually make a transaction. The next thing is social media marketing. Now this is where you can actually go to all of these social media platforms, including Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, Snapchat. All of these places where people are spending a lot of their time. They're there for their entertainment, but then when they're there, you can reach out to them on these platforms and get your content across, and then at that point they can see it and find out about it, and maybe if they're interested, they'll buy it. Next is the influencer marketing. So there's a lot of influencers online. There's many YouTubers, and now there's TikTok and all of these. I have never used it, but there's many people, and there's a lot of influencers that are involved in marketing. So you could pay them, and they'd be marketing your product for you. Because whoever is subscribed to that influencer, they would find out about your product, and then that's a good way of marketing as well. Next is the SEO. So as we saw earlier in the previous articles as well, is the SEO is very important to get organic search results, and we saw 43% of the retail industry is getting sales from Google search only. So if you have good SEO, then you can get a piece of that economy as well. So SEO would have a few different things. So the keyword search. So you would have your site ranked based on some keywords or what you're selling. It would then be ranked in Google based on that. Then you would have some on-site optimizations. which makes your website work technically, like loading quickly. Make sure that the pages are optimized for the keywords that you've selected for your SEO rankings. Then you have content marketing and then link building as well. So these are some of the SEO methods that you would use for marketing. The email marketing is one we saw earlier, a way to start building the email list. But once you have customers that are providing you with their email addresses, then you can use the tools to do like continuous email marketing to keep reminding them of your product or your offers or whatever. And then that's how you can engage with customers repeatedly and make continuous sales. Next, pay-per-click advertising. So this is one of the other ways to do marketing, where you can pay the online platforms like Google and Facebook to market your product, and then you would pay that platform whatever amount of money per click or whatever the model is for that marketing. I think that covers it.
Basically, now we have reached the end, and we'll build our website.
Yeah.
Now let's move to the next article.
Okay. Developer's Guide to Headless E-commerce. Right.
Adil, we want to right now, we are going to, because we don't have that much time, we have a lot of articles. The students can go over the articles themselves.
Sure.
But the main points, the make takeaways. The thing is, we talked about headless CMS when we were using Contentful. Now we are talking about headless e-commerce.
Yeah.
The whole point is that we will use the API provided by a headless e-commerce provider. Normally, Shopify, just take example of Shopify. Normally, Shopify provides you both the front end as well as the back end of your website. But the idea here is, for developers, us developers, we want flexibility. We want to be able to design websites which all the control lies with us.
Right.
So therefore, the idea is, instead of because if we develop a backend, complete backend, it will take a lot of time. In order to save cost, we can use the
Shopify backend.
Shopify backend, which they have provided a GraphQL whole queries, whole APIs, GraphQL APIs. And Shopify Plus is that platform. We use Shopify Plus and custom build our client. So therefore, this is called headless e-commerce. That we use the API of some provider, and the front end we design ourselves. So it provides us a lot of flexibility. We can do whatever we want. And the problem with Shopify websites is that they look all the same. Anybody who has experienced will immediately figure out that it is a Shop. But if you are using headless, nobody can figure out what you are using at the back end.
Yeah, because it's completely customized front end.
Yes. Yes. And we are going to use Gatsby on the front end and go with that. And if you go to the next screen, I think there was a picture there.
This one? This
Yes,
picture.
okay. So and now so this is the headless part. We are going to use, what we are going to do is, now let's go to the local e-commerce scene. I don't want to go into detail, but the point is, local e-commerce thing is improving a lot in the last few months. Even in Daraz.com, which is the biggest B2C e-commerce provider in Pakistan, they 1/3 of their sales is now they are receiving payments digitally through credit cards and whatever. But we have to understand 66% is still COD,
Still
cash on delivery.
majority. Yeah.
So but 33% is a good figure. That was end of the last year. Now it has increased a lot. And we are going to basically use Pakistan is ready to basically more or less go cashless, but it will take a while.
Yeah.
And we have different articles which cover Pakistani e-commerce scene, and all of you can read about that. Now let's go to the payment gateways. Adil, what do you think? What is a payment gateway?
So the payment gateway. So we've figured out so far. We've built an e-commerce platform using JAMstack. We'll have the back end. We'll have the front end. We'll have the customer who's ready to buy, but we don't have a way to get the transaction done. How do we get the payment from the customer so that we can deliver the product? So the payment gateway gives us this online payment method in which we can charge the customer in a way that it's connected to our app, so the customer can have the experience as if they're paying directly to us, but it's through a payment gateway. So what happens is we as the seller are able to charge the customer using online, maybe like a credit card or a debit card, whatever. And then once the payment is done, we'll have it, and then we can deliver the product.
Yes, and all the lot of developers are using Stripe and PayPal and other providers. Google and others also provide, but most of the developers, because it provides a lot of flexibility, are using Stripe and as well as PayPal. For the local, we did not have a gateway for a long time. Most payments, digital payments, were being done by EasyPaisa and Jazz Cash. But as you can see from the local payment methods, State Bank has recently allowed Pay Fast, which is Avanza is a big company in Pakistan. So they have opened a gateway, Pay Fast Avanza Premier's services. They are trying to copy Stripe. There's another one. If you go back, SafePay. They are also trying to emulate Stripe. So therefore, all these companies are basically trying to emulate Stripe. But the sad news is, if you go down a little bit, click this thing, Shopify payments in Pakistan.
Okay.
You can set up Shopify payments in Pakistan, and let's see which companies are allowed.
Leading payment providers, available providers, to checkout, BitPay, ID local,
something.
Coinbase.
Point is, basically, to checkout is a very huge company, international company. It is operational in 100+ countries. It is so operational, it connects to your banks in Pakistan also. So right now, if you want to have a website which accepts local cards, credit cards, one way of doing it is using Stripe. But the problem is, Stripe is not directly supported in Pakistan. So therefore, you will have to have an international account where the money is being transferred. So therefore, the other option is that if you are going to connect to the Pakistani accounts, bank accounts, I mean, we are covering this because this course is basically targeted towards the international market, but we are covering this because it's the same concept apply
to many countries,
other developing countries as well. So therefore, to checkout is the most prevalent and easy to use service, but it is not as developer friendly as Stripe or PayPal for that matter. So therefore, if you want to receive payments in Pakistan, the easy way to use is to checkout, and otherwise, but the new companies are coming up. As we mentioned here, that FastPay and others are also coming up. There are other also payment companies. What we're going to do is not only us, but we will also ask our students to basically go to other service providers and talk to them and get some information from them.
Yep.
But before we do that, we have to basically have a complete understanding of the concepts. So therefore, first we will do all the projects, and once we are done with the projects, then we will move forward with the local payment providers.
Sure.
Can you go back to the screen?
Yep.
Now, local payment methods, as I also mentioned, that you can go check out Pay Fast, and then we have already covered. Now, I would like to. Some people get confused. What is the difference between Shopify and Amazon? Adil.
Right. So Amazon is a seller itself as well. They do allow users to go and create their store, but Amazon itself is a seller, whereas Shopify gives a platform where anybody who wants to start their own e-commerce, their own website, basically. Amazon, you don't really get your own website. You become a seller on Amazon.com. You sell through Amazon, and Amazon.
Basically, it's a marketplace. It's a marketplace.
Yeah, but Shopify is a platform which would allow you to build your own website where you could do the e-commerce. So that would be the biggest difference.
Okay, and we have already mentioned headless Shopify, which is Shopify Plus. We are going to cover this in this course. Now, one thing which is very important: delivery services. Small companies cannot, even medium companies cannot create their own delivery services.
Right.
So if you want to go into e-commerce, you will have to have a delivery service. There's a lot of different companies in Pakistan who can pick and drop, and basically anywhere in Pakistan or internationally. So therefore, there is a list here. You can go over it in detail later on. If you want to start a e-commerce store, you need a delivery thing if it's not a digital product. I just want to end today's class by saying that e-commerce investment in Pakistan and developing country. Now, I just gave a sample of some of the things that are going on in the last few months. Even in the COVID-19, or maybe because of it, one thing you notice is in Pakistan or Bangladesh or Saudi Arabia or most countries, venture capitalists are the smartest people in the world. They are focusing on B2B.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. There's one company in Pakistan. I've listed all the different. You can go and check it out yourself and read about these companies, which money is pouring in, and which is quite surprising for developing countries, because VCs usually try to avoid developing countries. They have so many opportunities internationally that targeted towards a particular country doesn't make any financial sense. But what they are doing is, I'll give you an example. Right now, there are thousands and thousands of mom and pop shops all across Pakistan or Bangladesh or other developing countries. What these companies are doing is, what these VCs are doing is, they are funding software. Imagine a mom and pop shop. He wants to buy, he has a retail shop. He wants to buy from a wholesaler. How does he buy it? Right now, he calls him up, or their salesmen come every week or every day, whatever, and they ask for you what are the requirements, where are you short, where are you, how much, what do you call, inventory will you buy from us. They provide credit also, and they all these mom and shops spread all over Pakistan in small villages, thousands and thousands of them. Basically, they supply. Imagine how difficult it will be for a company to manage it. Very difficult. They have 100,000, 150,000 accounts just managing what they want. If we can somehow create a system where they can just use their mobile, whatever they are short, they have sold out, they basically type that in, select it, and buy it and place an order. It can be quite beneficial for the retailer. If you go to most Pakistani shops, half the time they are out of certain things, out of stock. The reason is that it takes a while for the stock to come to that shop. If we control that through a software, it can be easily done. Therefore, a lot of companies, as I mentioned in these articles, are investing in B2B, business to business e-commerce, because business to consumer commerce is the problem is you have to change the mindset of the user. But it is comparatively easy to train a business person which will gain benefit from it and so on. So therefore, Adil,
Yes.
I want to now go to the projects we will cover in the next few classes.
Okay.
If you go to
the top here.
Okay. The first thing is we will use the easiest of them one, which is Stripe checkout. Then
you just want to go over high level? Okay.
No, just go over to a higher level. Then we will do Stripe in detail where there is a custom flow. Then we will cover Snapchat, Snapcart, and then we will use another custom software which is Use Shopping Cart, which you can customize a lot compared to Snapcart. Both of them are shopping carts, but Use Shopping Cart is much more flexible. And the last project we will do is Shopify GraphQL. We will also cover other things, maybe local payment providers and other international providers. But let's first cover these 5 projects. Once we have these 5 projects, we and our students will have a lot of understanding of the whole subject matter, and we will build these projects in the next month or two, and basically learn from it. Everybody, thank you so much. Adil, would you like to add something, or?
I think we're good. We'll continue in the next class. Will we go right into the project from next class?
Next class, we will go right into the project.
Sounds good. So
just show us the URL once again.
Yeah.
This is the URL where we will doing our projects. You can start reading about it, and let's enjoy ourselves. And maybe you will create your next Amazon with these technologies. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.